This is TWiT. Paul is on the line from Bethesda, Maryland. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Leo. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, I'm not going to hold you up too long. I have a very quick question.
Sure.
I need to use Zoom, but I don't trust Zoom, and I don't think I ever will with their security updates. So my question is, I have a Mac, and can I get to Zoom as a guest user without my data on my other accounts being compromised?
Yeah, Zoom now has a web interface that I think would be secure for you to use. So last year, Zoom got in a lot of trouble because the way the Zoom installer worked, it installed a web server on your Mac, which they did for, somewhat rational reasons. They wanted it so that if you saw a Zoom link, you could click it. If you didn't have Zoom installed, the web server would go, okay, would get Zoom, install it, and you'd get online. So it was a convenience thing. But the problem is, even if you uninstalled Zoom, the Zoom web server would continue to run on your Mac. And at one point, Apple got so irate because Zoom didn't fix it that they just blocked it. And that's, I'm sure, where your, kind of visceral memory of Zoom being unsafe comes from. They did not, I think, do the right thing last year. I'm sorry, it's now 2 years ago in 2019. Of course, when the pandemic started, everybody started using Zoom. A lot of people said, "Oh no, this thing has all sorts of problems." Zoom took it very seriously, and they hired consultants, some of the best people in the industry, some of my actual heroes in security, to fix it. And I do believe they've done a lot of things to make Zoom secure. There's still problems, There was a renegade, I guess I'll put that in quotes. They claim it was a renegade Chinese employee just a few months ago that killed Zoom accounts if you mentioned Tiananmen Square, which, of course, the Chinese government's very sensitive to. And it is the case that most of the Zoom coding is still done in China.
Yes.
So there's reasons to still be a little suspicious. On the other hand, it's pretty hard not to use Zoom if all your clients and colleagues start Zoom calls, right?
That's correct. It's like, I thought most people would have FaceTime, but it's Zoom it seems.
No, unfortunately. I would far prefer to use something from Apple. I trust them a lot more than I do Zoom. But I will reassure you that, people like our security guy, we do a Security Now podcast with Steve Gibson. He's taken a look at the white paper, at the people Zoom hired, like Katie Masuris, and they even bought a company called Keybase at keybase.io, which I was a big fan of, real crypto experts. And they've implemented end-to-end encryption and done things pretty much what you should do to make it so more secure. So I feel like it's more secure than it used to be. I understand your hesitance. There is, I believe, a web version. I think that would solve at least that issue of installing Zoom.
Right.
But, the problem is there's no third-party tool you can use to join a Zoom call. You have to use Zoom.
That's the thing. What I had planned to do was use it through Safari and have my account set up through a Gmail
I think that's good. I think that's all prudent. And
then come as a guest user in my Mac with that. And hopefully
absolutely
it wouldn't get into my other account.
You are doing everything you can to isolate Zoom. Safari's going to sandbox it. If you're in a guest account, as you know, the Macintosh, when you log out of that guest account, wipes everything. It'd be very hard for Zoom to do anything nefarious under those circumstances. So I think you're okay.
Excellent. You've made me feel much more confident.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I'm glad you called. I completely sympathize. I think it's not, I don't want to be xenophobic. I was a Chinese major in college. I love the Chinese people. I love the country. But they don't have the nicest government in the world. And any company that operates in China, and this includes, by the way, Apple, has to follow Chinese law, just as we would expect any company operating in the U.S. to follow U.S. law. And now Zoom is ostensibly an American company, but all of the coding is done in China by 3 independent companies. that's some cause for concern. I think it's reasonable to assume that if the company is in China, run as a Chinese company, that the authorities in China have access to anything that company does, including putting a back door in the software. Now, I think Zoom understands that their business, especially outside of China, relies on trust. I think that's why they hired all these people, why they bought this company, Keybase, why they did everything they could to reassure people, including firing that Chinese employee who discontinued the accounts that mentioned Tiananmen Square. But there is this background noise feeling that, is it really trustworthy? So what you're doing is actually kind of smart. It's not, Apple gives you this kind of way of running in a more secure fashion. And I think that's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.